If you could see what I see, our community and unity, no frustration from brutality, with our black nation a reality.
This is my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective.
Welcome everybody to the New African Perspective, the show that is dedicated to the liberation of new African people. I'm your host, Brother Prophecy, but I'm never, ever by myself, not in this space, because I got riding with me are the powerful, the beautiful, the intelligent, intellectual president and vice president of the Republic of New Africa, and they are none other than
Mama Free the land.
Mama Ayo.
And we are part of something called the New African Independence Movement, as well as the Republic of New Africa. And we advocate for land, independence, self-determination, reparation, and we try to create an economic system that ain't all about trying to get over on everybody. We trying to make sure everybody rise up and make it happen for ourselves. So yeah, definitely. And for the last few months, we have been covering this document, y'all. It's just so off the chain. It's so on point. I mean, it's like so far we've done 14 principles of this document. It is like 14-0. Every last one of them on point. And we're down to the last one. Number 15, creed number 15, y'all. What's creed number 15?
I will be patient and uplifting with the deaf, dumb, and blind, and I will seek by word and deed to heal the Black family and bring into the movement and into the community mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters left by the wayside.
Man, that's a way to end. Basically, it's trying to say that even though our people might be in a colonized mindset and we might be suffering from being dumb, deaf, and blind, it's saying that I'm not going to leave my brothers and sisters by the wayside. I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to bring them up with me as we all rise up so we can all rise up together. That's dope. What y'all think about that principle number 15, creed number 15?
Well, the creeds are our codes of behavior, our intents. And for me, it just says a lot, because what we're trying to do is bring into our way of thinking, our way of operating, our way of, healing the Black family. So we're just really, really, really excited about creed number 15, not only mothers and fathers, but brothers and sisters who've just been left somewhere, not really knowing who and what they are. So I think it's a apropos to be the very final creed, the point on the creed. So with that, I yield.
Yes, and a lot. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. A lot of people may have a problem with I will be patient and uplifting with the deaf, dumb, and blind, yet they're not talking about in a quote unquote literal sense, so to speak. It's talking about the brothers and sisters who just don't see that we in crisis. You know what I mean? Just not hearing. We know that we have talked amongst deaf ears, and sometimes people have to go through what they need to go through and see what they need to see before they say, oh, I remember when that brother or sister said so forth and so on, right? Sometimes it takes people living through life. So we got to be patient with our brothers and sisters, working through all the hundreds of years of conditioning,
Exactly.
It's a mind state and a heart condition that we have to step out of to build our new society, or to rebuild society for ourselves as new African people, So it takes a lot of self-discipline and focus to stay on path, because we're surrounded by we're surrounded by destruction. Yes, I'm supposed to say that, but we're surrounded by destruction and a lot of distractions, which are destructive, right? To us catapulting forward. So that part is not bashing nobody that has a disability. This is talking about those that just don't hear what you're saying, right? You got to be patient with our people. Those that act like they don't see what you're talking about, right? Because they stuck someplace else. We know we've talked brick walls before, right? Until they live a little bit more, or do a little bit, or have certain experiences. Sometimes people won't get it because we all have different learning styles, So, and we got to respect that. And those that just can't see, So it's speaking about that in not a literal sense. It's just telling us to be patient. We're gonna have to be patient on it because our people have been through a lot.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, we can gain certain information and quote unquote free our minds, elevate our mind, and try to eradicate the colonial mentality. And sometimes we can develop a certain elitist mentality, like, oh, I know so much, and we can begin to look down upon individuals who have not woke up yet, have not been exposed to the type of information that we have. I see that from time to time on some of us. And this is just a reminder, what I'm saying? Be humble and be patient. And like you said, when you're talking about the dumb, deaf, and blind, that just means people who minds have been colonized, that they can't see past the Eurocentric white power structural paradigm that has been put over our eyes to blind us so we cannot see the path to true liberation. It's a lot of our brothers and sisters there's a lot of us used to be there before something woke us up and said, hold on, something's not right. And we began to seek out knowledge and ultimately freed our mind. And we are continuing to free our mind. So, I mean, it's a beautiful document because it reminds us to be humble, be patient, and always focus on bringing your people up. Don't look down on your people, bringing them up, regardless to what the condition that they are in, because all of us came, from somewhere. So I think that's a beautiful document.
Thank you.
And
Brother Prophecy. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sa.
Go ahead, Mama. I'll go after you.
And remember, I said we're trying to incorporate all of these wonderful principles at the ultimate. The last is to heal the Black family.
Yes.
To heal the Black family. And that takes everything within us, because of course we have, in order for the family to heal, every individual person has to heal, and we have to be supportive. We have to be uplifting, as the creed says, and we have to do that work. We have to do that work because it's like we have to be our own experiment. We are the experiment on ourselves. What works for one family may not work for another family. What works for one person may not work for another person. But the fact is, we're trying to build a new nation. Whatever strategy and tactic that is going to produce a great result, the best of us, to embed in us, to embed us with the love, with the determination, with the fortitude, and that love, which we're going to be talking about later today, the love that we're not wrong. We're not wrong. One of the principles of the Nguzi Saba says we have, especially faith, that we believe in the righteousness of this struggle. If we did not, we might as well sit down. Stop complaining and just take what it is. But we know what's right and wrong. We know that we have the human right to do this. So as we are elevating ourselves, it is incumbent upon us to reach out a hand, to say a kind word, to show that love and light in order to heal the Black family, because we've always said Black family, foundations of our nation. Heal, heal, heal.
Mhm. Yes, yes, yes. And just to add on to what you're saying, Mama Ayo, to seek to seek by word and deed. So that means we have to be extremely responsible with our tongue, with our words, as we're talking and communicating with one another. You know, is our intention to lift up, to pour into, to heal, to add on, or is our intention to take away, to destroy, to make somebody feel horrible, to hate on the next person? That's it's illegal in New Africa,
I
right?
say, I
Hmm.
say,
Illegal. It's illegal. So it makes us very, very cognizant in terms of how we are communicating amongst each other, you know, and communicating with our people. Like Brother Parker said, we do not know our people. I, you know, this is our struggle. We all are, and this is rooted in collective leadership. You know, collective leadership, so that we can return back to our greatest highest self. You know, we respect each person for their gifts and their talents in New Africa, and by deed, we want to heal by deed, meaning we are not aggressing upon one another in no way physically. The work that we choose to do is not destructive to our people, right? Whatever it is that we're doing, it's not destructive. It uplifts, it holds us up, it gives us firm foundation, you know, all of those different fortifying words or fortifying actions, you know. So that's what we're responsible for as new Africans, and to bring into the movement and in the community mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters. That's all of us, you
that's
know.
right.
So
All of it together. Yeah.
yes.
Definitely,
So,
definitely.
so you can't go wrong with the Queen. You can't go wrong
Mhm.
with the Nguza Saba. You can't go wrong
Good.
with the laws of my art. You can't go wrong with it. So you know,
Exactly.
Definitely, definitely. I want to welcome our Facebook audience. I see everybody starting to get active out there. And if y'all out there listening to this, you know, share the word. Drop a line of, you know, somebody who would be interested in this type of content or could benefit from it. You know, just drop the name in the comment section, and they'll get a notification and they can join the conversation. What's up, Melly Queen? I see you out there already doing your thing.
be the
You know,
man,
uh,
Queen sister.
yeah. Yeah, no doubt, brother.
But
Obafemi, how you doing, brother from
All right,
Arkansas?
brother warrior.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yeah, he said there is always more to know about whatever it is that you think you know, and
mhm.
that's a really good comment, you know, because I always say I got this saying that I always say that, you know, really intelligent people know that there is always much to learn. It's
Yes.
only the stupid people who already know everything. So I appreciate that.
I say, I say.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. I'm gonna need y'all to pronounce this name because I don't want to mess the name up. What's the name?
I can't see it.
So can you see it? I just put it on the screen. It's like Elsa Gaidi Binko.
Gaidi, Biko.
Gaidi. Okay. Elsa
Gaidi.
Gaidi Binko. What's up to you? You said Asheo. I appreciate you checking in. And yeah, so but Sama I think Sa's screen is froze up.
I think so too. She's trying to
You
get
still
back
there with
on.
us, Queen? Okay.
Uh-huh. I
All
think
right.
I think she's gotta get herself rebooted and come back on.
Yeah. So, well, I guess I asked you. You remember what we got on tap for the show? That's usually Sa's job. She has to know. I
Yes.
know we got it. We got it. Cadre corner. What's that Cadre corner we're gonna talk about?
Today we're going to talk about, of course, African Holistic Health by Dr. Laila O. Africa.
Okay, definitely, definitely. And I know that main topic we're gonna talk about some black on black love.
Woo!
Definitely.
Power, power, power.
Yeah. In the Black Power file, we're gonna be talking about Benjamin Banneker because on the 7th was the anniversary of when he started the layout of Washington, D.C. This was a genius, y'all. And they don't talk enough about him. But I guess we want to get started with what's been going on, you know, in the news, some of the things some of the things that's been going on. And let me go to the SIP, Mississippi. Pull up this story because as recently the Mississippi House just voted to create a separate court system and expanded police department for the white people only, y'all. Can y'all believe it? For the white people only. Let me pull this story up. Matter of fact, let me try to share it with it so y'all can read along with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Mississippi House.
Tell us about it, because this is exactly the examples that we say you got to stay woke. We got to stay tuned in to what is going on around this country. So tell the listening audience.
Okay, so now if House Bill 1020 becomes law later this session, the white Chief of Justice, Mississippi Supreme Court, would appoint 2 judges to oversee the new district within the city of Jackson, Mississippi. Now, Jackson, Mississippi is the blackest city in America. Got the highest percentage of black people of any major city in America. Let me see. One that includes all the cities, majorities of white neighborhoods among other areas. The white state attorney general would appoint 4 prosecutors, 4 court clerks, and 4 public defenders for the new district. The white state public safety commissioner would oversee and expand Capitol Police Force, run currently by a white chief. In other words, they're saying in this black city, which has a black mayor, 80% black city, New African city, they're going to create a separate court system and police, expanded police force, specifically so the white people can have power over that. In other words, they're saying, okay, we don't want this black court system and this black police department to be governing us. They said only in Mississippi. Let me try to find some quotes. Where brother Chokwe Lumumba said. I thought I had this.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah, it's a lot of information. They're saying they have to do that in order to feel safe. But while looking for this information, what you had any comments about this?
Well, I think that we need to always keep our eyes on those particular states who we have claimed as our land, that we're claiming as that should be ours in the Republic of New Africa. Many people know that Jackson, particularly, who had the first really a New African mayor, Chokwe Lumumba, was there. He was only able to rule 6 months before his untimely death, and that's a whole nother subject. But it also speaks to the little things that the post-Confederate states continue to do to its majority black populations in many of these states, and how they can legally wrangle their way to get things put into law. So it's very, very important that our citizens, the citizens of the Republic of New Africa, keep their eyes on what is going on and utilize their voices and their vote to make sure that things like that do not happen until we're able to actually form our nation. So in the meantime, you have a lot of black counties. As you said, Jackson is not only the blackest city, Mississippi in itself has more black people per capita than any other state. So it is important that the residents understand that, and that's all about political education, propaganda, to understand that your vote has mighty consequences. You can begin to change the face of the people who represent you in Mississippi, and make sure that you have a fairer access to housing, food, clothing, shelter, and water, by the way, which I'm hoping that you'll talk about that as well. So yeah, I think that we have to keep our eye on that, and there has to be a lot of people calling the so-called representative that is supposed to represent you, since you are the physical majority, and let them know they better not vote in that particular manner, or else they will not go, they will not have another term. And I yield.
Yeah, and Chokwe Lumumba, which is accused the legislature in Mississippi earlier this year of practicing what he called plantation politics. And he said if this bill passed, he said it reminds him a lot of apartheid. And if you understand anything about the politics in Mississippi, in fact, you know, Mississippi, large part of Mississippi is part of something we call the Lumumba district, I believe. And I think it already starts starting from right here where we are, expanding all the way down to maybe New Orleans. I'm not sure of the exact.
All the way to the all the way to the Delta, all the way to the sea.
Yeah. This, like you said, this is the most per capita percentage of Black people really in all of North America. So, you know, when you have a majority over there, that should equate to political power.
Exactly.
The white supremacist power structure has manipulated the system so much that you have a minority group of people ruling a majority. And
Thank you.
it's just white supremacy as usual. You know, it's one way or another, they manipulate this system in order to benefit them and suppress and repress and oppress our people. So it's much of the same. And I really think that this is a part of, you remember in history Custer's Last Stand.
Yes.
What we're seeing is a system of white supremacy that is slowly crumbling. You see the system slowly falling and disintegrating before their eyes. And that's something we have to wake up to, because we're so connected to this system that if it falls, it'll fall right on top of us, because we lie at the foundation of this system. But you know, when something is struggling to survive and is about to die, then they reach out and they try to fight and they try to hold on with all power. That's why you see so much just straight out racism, white supremacy. That's why you see all of these laws that are being passed that are preventing us from teaching our history. I mean, it's crazy. You know, they're making it really illegal for us to study our history. In Florida, there's a law that passed that says that you can't teach anything to make white people feel bad, basically. You know, that's kind of paraphrasing it, but they're not much. That's basically what the law says. You can't teach anything to make white people feel bad, you know.
And
so
and really, Brother Prophecy, it is when you have the states and almost the whole nation creating these new types of laws, these laws that do not have equity, that do not have a regard to all humankind in their intent, then you know that is another declaration of war. It is a war against the people. It's a war against family. It's a war against education. And how do you say that you don't feel safe when you know that the policemen in Mississippi who are Black, they already know they can't come into your neighborhood and shoot and knock your door down. They already know they can't stop you and throw you on the ground if you're a white person. They already know they better not grab a white woman and pull her out the car and hold her up by the lapels of her dress or her shirt. They already know they better not smack down a Black child. What are they talking about? What are they talking about? Because you know that's not going to happen anyway. So really, what's the ulterior motive? I want our listening audience to remember Nathan Bedford Forrest came from where? Where did the KKK first originate from? Out of Mississippi. So don't ever think that them good old boys have forgotten. Don't ever think that they lost the Confederate battle to secede from the nation. And don't ever forget that those the enslaved Africans that they had on the land masses was the main cause that they lost the war. So don't ever think that they're going to forget that, because in them back rooms, that's what they talk about even to today. And with that, I yield.
Definitely. Can you hear us, Samad? Madam President?
It's going kind of going in and out. Yes,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you pretty good. Do you want to chime in on this Mississippi law that's trying to establish a separate court system and expanded police department in Jackson, Mississippi, the blackest city in America, really?
I didn't hear the sentence. It was going in and out. What'd you
Oh,
say?
I'm sorry. Did you want to comment on this story? I don't know if you heard the story about what's happening in Jackson.
I can't hear. I'm gonna have to get some better reception, y'all.
It's okay. We'll continue.
I got something to say.
Oh, you can just say it.
She's going in and out.
Oh, okay. Well, you already know what I want to say. What more do we need, my people? What more do we need? I really don't have much to say about that. This is their system.
It looked like she dropped out.
It went out again.
But yeah, like she was saying, this is their system, so what do you expect? This is something we shouldn't really be surprised about. It's something we should expect. And the remedy of that is to focus on creating something that we control that is of our own,
Absolutely.
So definitely. But we can continue. What else been going on? So yeah, a lot. We've been talking a lot about what happened with our brother Tyre Nichols, who was brutally murdered by several police officers. This is an interesting story that I haven't heard a lot about, but the parents of Tyre Nichols has filed an urgent appeal to the United Nations after the fatal beating by Memphis police of their child last month. Now, the family is requesting action from the UN regarding the torture and extrajudicial killing of the 29-year-old black man. It says, today we filed an urgent appeal before the UN asking it to condemn the tragic killing of Tyre Nichols, to demand transparency from the police department, and to demand that Officer Preston Hemphill and all others that participated in the incident are criminally charged. So yeah, that's kind of interesting development, because I hadn't heard about this until recently, and I don't know if the news is picking this up, but they're basically saying, that this issue of police killing us is not just a matter of civil rights. This is a matter of human rights. So we're going to the world. We're not just simply going to be asking the same people who killed our son to do the right thing. We're going to go, really symbolically above your head, and we're going to take this to the world with the UN, which I found that to be an interesting development. What do you think about this story?
Well, I think that they're that's a very, very bold move. It's a very, very courageous move. It's very, very self-determining, because they are tying another example of their son being murdered, likening it to the racist system under which the police control this nation. And whether or not, and 9 times out of 10, let me say 9 times out of 10, white policemen are the murderers of black men, you still have that one where black men are going to be the murderers of their own people, unjustifiably. I'm talking about the unjustifiable ones, and most times it's unjustifiable. So it is a human rights issue. It's a human rights issue because of the nature of white supremacy and racism in this country. And of course, it's led by capitalism and imperialism. It is the nature in which systemically, from Rhode Island all the way down to California, the police are trained in the same way. They have the same attitudes. They have the same behaviors when it deals with people of color, particularly brown and black people. So it is a human rights issue, and particularly specifically on the descendants of the enslaved Africans, because it's a legacy. I mean, it's like we say we have epigenetic DNA codes in our systems. They do too. They have been taught. That is their culture. It is how they have put together their education system, their medical system, all the way down. So when it comes to human rights, you who are in control of somebody else's land here in America, you have decided that you're going to be the people who are going to rule the world, dictate the culture, dictate the food, dictate every practice that we can imagine. And when we try to tell you that what you're doing to us is impractical, it doesn't work, you don't have jobs for all of us, and yet you want us to still live how? And then you consider it to be crimes because of the nature of capitalism. Of course, it's a human rights abuse because it is disproportionately put on black people and brown people in this country. So yes, I think I'm really, really happy that the family did that, because we have not heard yet, Brother Prophecy, we have not heard yet that the white policeman has been charged.
Nope. In fact, they initially hid his involvement, and it wasn't until the video was released and we saw, hold on, wait, what this white hand with this taser doing? You know, talking about, I hope they stump his ass. You know, where was he? Where is he? You know, so yeah, definitely. I'm glad that, you know, even within the mainstream of our struggle, those individuals who are more about reforming the system, even though that's not what we're on, we need to create a different system completely. But even the individuals who are more focused on reform are kind of moving toward human rights and not, you know, civil rights. That just means that we actually are progressing collectively, you know, because, you know, the reformist movement is usually about 10 years behind the, you know, the nationalist movement. So, absolutely. You know, good. We're catching up slowly, getting on the same page. Some announcements real quick. Melly Queen says, save the date, March 31st to April 2nd, 2023 in Charleston, South Carolina. Come celebrate with the Republic of New Africa, celebrating 55 years on the road to our plebiscite to free the land. Definitely New African Nation Day. A great time and a good time to organize and get together and really, you know, push momentum for this new African independence movement. Brother Biko, he says, these shows are informative and give so much guidance in the way of revolutionary and spiritual consciousness. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I say thank you.
See, Melly Queen again. Join the Mbele unit and NABA for our new African history program on February 25th, 2023 at the McFarland Community Center at 4955 Cottonwood from 1 o'clock Central to 4 o'clock Central. We will have a community panel with some of our new African leaders in Ida B. Webb's Memphis district, a children's program, refreshment, fellowship, and more with our respective communities, celebrating our story 365. Free the land. Definitely, you know, if y'all in the Memphis area, the Ida B. Well area on February 25th, check us out, y'all. We there. Not only gonna entertain y'all for a little while, just for a little while, we're gonna do a program, and then we're doing a panel discussion, and we get into the nuts and bolts of the situation is to try to bring about true change here in Ida B. Wells City, because everybody pissed about what happened to their brother Tyree Nichols, but it really ain't nothing new. You know, it's something that's been happening for a long, long time. I think actually one of them police officers, I think I encountered him. Me and him actually had a little slight altercation. And one of his fellow police officers actually held him back because he actually, but anyway, that's another story. We can talk about that another time. But but national and local elections, new African elections coming up November 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2023. Get with your local district or local election commissioner and make your new African vote count. That's right. That's right. The election is coming up. Brother Freedom Power checking in. How you doing? He says, even poor white people ain't having black people rule over them.
Hello?
We are trying to get us to that point. It's a righteous position.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, because you think about it, them people in Jackson, you got poor white people in Jackson, and they basically saying, "No, we ain't having that. We want our own." You know, they already got their own, and they even won't father their own.
Because I want you to understand psychologically, y'all, beloveds, psychologically, the people who say we are at the bottom of the evolutionary chain are looking around, seeing the browning of America. In some cases, he is seeing a black president, a black, first lady. You have, all kinds of people that are in leadership positions, and here you are in townships, and in their minds, those townships are too many black folks, and they have positions of power. It would be totally different if they were shucking and jiving and bowing their heads, talking about yes sir, yes sir, yes ma'am. But that's not the case anymore. This is 2023. And psychologically, that is something they cannot stand. And those of you who are in positions and you still work on the plantations, you know that. You know they can't stand to have a CEO. They can't stand to have a supervisor. Can't stand to have anybody else that's in a position of power that has to tell them what to do. Oh my goodness. That's a psychological, what we call a psychological anomaly. It's very difficult for them to be able to accept that. Mm-hmm. And why shouldn't we feel the same? It's about power. It's about the perception of power. It's about how I was taught. I was raised that black people were this and black people were that. So if I'm taught something different, that the reason why we say black people are this and that is because of Caucasian people who are the descendants of the English, British, French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Swedes have been lying about history. That becomes a problem. It's a psychological problem that they cannot, they just can't come to balance. And you're seeing them. You're seeing the manifestations. They're getting ready to create laws that they need to be protected. Why? They need to be protected because you done lied, and you know reciprocity, karma is gonna come back and get you. I yield.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it reminds me of something because, like, you have to understand culture, the white culture, and how it has developed through time. It's something called the Bacon's Rebellion that happened like in the 1600s, like early during the period of enslavement, before slavery was really as defined, before you all had all the laws, in the books declaring, the African people would be enslaved for life, when they were just trying to figure it out. Well, it was this plantation. This guy by the name of Bacon, I can't remember his first name.
Francis Bacon. Francis
Bacon. Okay. Basically, he was rejected by the elitist class, by the elites. He wanted to be a part of the good old boy network, and he was like, "Nah, you just one of them poor whites who just came into the money. You can't get into the club." So he got with the other poor whites and he said, no, we about to rebel against this system. Because this system is jacked up. I don't like the system. I can't be a part of it. So he got with other poor whites who many were indentured servants at the time. And they say, okay, we're going to pick up arms and we finna take over the system. Well, black people who were enslaved said, well, damn, we don't like the system either. We're going to join. So there was a rebellion between the united poor blacks and enslaved Africans up against this system of one. It wasn't even really defined as white supremacy back then yet. And they came against it so hard and they almost won. They literally almost won. They almost changed the dynamic. But after that happened, the ruling elite power structure said we can never let poor whites and enslaved Africans together, and they created a 3-tier system where you had the ruling elite, the landowners, the plantation owners. They were above everybody, but right below them were the poor whites, and the poor whites were given authority and jobs and rule over the enslaved Africans. And that's how the police department or the slave catchers emerged, because it was the poor whites who had to be members of, had to hold these jobs. They say, okay, you get to catch the enslaved Africans. You get to punish the enslaved Africans. Anytime they step out of line, you get them. And this kind of helped define poor whites people's identity. It's like, I might be poor, I might not be, they might look down on me, but I'm better than them niggas. And that gave them an identity, and that helped to shape what we see today. All them Donald Trump white folks, that's where they came from. That's why you see the poorest white people today are the most rebel flag, killer nigga with the AR-15 guns ready to kill them. You know what I'm saying? Because has been their heritage, that has been their culture, and it's directly connected to their self-esteem and their identity. I might be poor, I might be on meth and be having sex with my cousin, sister, but I'm better than them niggas, and that's how it evolved today. That's a historical perspective of what's been going on. But
absolutely,
anyway.
absolutely.
But we do got a cadre corner coming up, right?
Yes, we do.
What's that cadre corner? We're gonna take a brief break, but we're gonna be back with what we going over today?
We're looking at African holistic health. Oh my goodness!
All right.
Laila.
Dr. Laila. Oh, Africa.
All right, and we'll be right back after this. This is the New African Perspective. Free the land, y'all.
America, full of promises. Time to cash them in. You run from it quick. You never keep your word. I learned from it quick. You keep abusing me. You're dumb. Europeans murdered 98% of the indigenous population right here in Turtle Island in order to steal the land. An entire nation of African people were captured and forced into a brutal system of chattel slavery just so they could work and cultivate the land. All wars are fought over land, not over terrorism, not over religion, not even to win the hearts and minds of the people, but for the actual land and the resources within the land. So it is safe to say that land is the foundation to all freedom. So if we truly want to be free, then our struggle is for land. Free the land.
Study the writings, speeches, documents of our freedom fighters in order to free our neo-colonialized minds. This is the Cadre Corner.
Hey, Mama, how y'all?
All right, greetings, fellow comrades, citizens, New African citizens. So today we're going to be talking about this wonderful book called African Holistic Health by Dr. Laila, Africa. And I want you to Google him because he has a lot more books, even though he transitioned at the beginning of the pandemic in March of 2020. He has left a legacy for us because he took the time, he took the love, he took the patience to put together this beautiful book. And he has so many more, but we're going to talk about this. So we it's a very, very interesting book. You constantly have to go back to it. It is a wonderful reference book. It talks about different ailments. It talks about different holistic ways, and holistic to Dr. Laila O. Afrika, like many of our healers, is of course utilizing plant-based medicines, herbs, tinctures, putting together various recipes. One of the things I love is that he takes us through different types of fasts, how to prepare yourself for a water fast or a fruit fast. He promotes the enemas. He promotes the fact that, you know, certain vegetables need to go together. He talks about color therapy. He talks about so many different dimensions. But what is unique that I find with Dr. Laila O. Afrika, is that he always talks about our holistic health from an African centered point of view versus a Eurocentric point of view. So when you do read his legacies, he's always going to talk about traditionally what the Caucasian people did, what the Eurocentric people do, versus how it's important for us as melanated people to be in tune with who we are, with our body rhythms, with our the way in which we make love, the different things that we need to do as a melanated people. And particularly, he does talk about how melanin is enriching, how melanin is transformative, how melanin is at the very center of how we are to be kind to our bodies, kind to ourselves. He talks about, of course, acupuncture. He talks about reflexology. He talks about iridology. I mean, there's so many things. He talks about the use of just different things that can help us balance ourselves, particularly those of us who are here in the United States of America. So with this book, I mean, he talks about the advantages of breastfeeding. I mean, there's so much. I can't tell you everything because I haven't, he talks about the use of horoscopes. I mean, when I say holistic, oh my goodness. And all of his books thereafter are very, 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 everyone should have them in their home, at least one. And so again, African holistic health. And when he talks about African, he means it. And even he goes into some historical perspectives as well. So there's much more, but read it.
All right.
Knowledge.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Afrikan Holistic Health by Dr. Laila O. Afrika. And those of us who were trained, those of you who were trained by him, he was a mighty master teacher. Always.
Yeah, I say to Dr. Afrika, one of the great freedom fighters on several fronts.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and where can we get this book?
Well, I tried to go to, I think his website is still up, but I know it's on Amazon. They have all of his books on Amazon. You may be able to get them at thrift books, but as I said, he does have a website. I believe his wife is still making sure that his books are available, but I just looked him up. Definitely on Amazon. I mean, he's got everything on Amazon. I was like, whoa, there's some books I didn't even know he had. So yeah, definitely Amazon.
All right, African holistic health, because we got to take a holistic approach to health, just more than just physically, more than just your diet. You got to deal with your mental, your spiritual, your everything. All of those things combined creates a healthy individual, not just one particular aspect. And one thing that we definitely have to work on collectively as a people, as far as our collective health, is that self-love and the love for each other. You know what I'm saying? And that brings us to our topic today.
Can you hear me?
Black on black love. Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I wanted to say a little bit of something about African holistic health.
Oh, okay.
Of course, I am a student of like Ela Africa. I was certified by him back in 2004, and literally, he's most definitely our master teacher in terms of every aspect of our life connected. Everything is interconnected and in alignment with universal law and order and in alignment with nature. And he literally did all the research just so we can know that any part of your body, any aspect of your body is going to tell you what's going on with you. Okay. You can look at your hair, you can look at your scalp, you can look at your hands, you can look at your fingernails, you can look, it's like a reflection. Your body turns in on itself and it's a reflection of itself. You know, he explains the masculine principle and the feminine principles within your body rhythm, right? He also explains all of the elements and how and the trimesters, right, or the three parts, upper, middle, lower, and how it reflects all your different organ parts in your body. So most definitely you want to check it out. We can self-diagnose. Basically, that's what he's been self-diagnose. Your body tell you everything. Pay attention to yourself. Okay, back to
Okay.
self-love, back to know thyself. Right. So get that book. It's a great start. It gives you a great start on making sure that you're well.
Yes, part of the independence and self-reliance is taking control of your health. The
Yes.
reality is we don't have to grow old and sick and decrepit and I can't hardly function after you get 50. That does not have to be our reality. That is a condition because we have been indoctrinated in an unhealthy system that does not work for us. We eat things we don't need to eat. We stress over things we don't need to stress over. Our environment can be toxic in too many cases, and we don't have to do that. We don't have to live that way. We can take control of our health, take control of our life, take control of our reality. And with that, one thing that we definitely need to take control of is the love for ourselves and the love for our brothers and our sisters with this black on black love. Being that tomorrow is Valentine's Day and everybody want to get huggy and kissy and chocolates and all of that stuff. Um, from our perspective, I don't really care about the European holiday, but from our perspective, um, we definitely always should celebrate black love. We should promote black love, whatever excuse we need to celebrate the loving of our families and the loving of our communities, the loving of our mates in our race. We should always do that because it's something that we definitely need and is essential for the liberation of our people collectively. So what y'all got to feel? What y'all got to say about this subject, black on black love?
At Black on Black Love. We came up with this subject today because today it is a national Black holiday called Akoma Day. I can't
Yep.
remember when it was started or what have you, but it is literally the Adinkra symbol Akoma with the heart, right? The opening of the heart to one another. It's Black Love Day. So we wanted to discuss Black on Black love, the importance of it. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How can we incite more black on black love? Most definitely, it starts with love yourself, for sure. Every, like Mama, every crevice, every single aspect of you, love it and feed it. Because remember, we're coming out of a particular system. We're taking ourselves out of a system who suppressed all of your beautiful gifts, talents, and all of your superpowers. Right? It's our responsibility to reignite them inside of us. Right? Love on ourselves, be our best and greatest self, so we can openly love on one another. Remember, we can, any type of deprivation creates more deprivation. Okay, any type of deprivation. So we are depriving ourselves of that we need to give ourselves and attention that we give ourselves and who we are. we're gonna end up depriving somebody else of who they are. That's just how that goes. Okay, we're gonna end up what is that? Putting whatever is in our mind that's keeping us from doing what it is that we're supposed to do. We'll put it on somebody else, right? We'll project it on somebody else in our speech. Sometimes not even knowing that we're doing that, right? Oh well, we can't. We'll put all types of limitations on somebody else, as if we have the right to do that, right? In terms of in terms of their vision, and especially if their vision is not necessarily out of alignment with what it is, you know, y'all know what I'm talking about. We hear it all the time in conversation. Why something can't happen versus why it can't, how it can't. So we got to be really, 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 really cognizant of how we're talking to one another. Is that loving to tell somebody that their dream can't come true because we just can't see with eyes, or they can't bring into or create that they're meant to just because we can't see? No, that's of lack of self-love somewhere. We have to check it. We have to check, you know, and I now.
Okay. All right. Mama Aya, you have anything you want to add to that?
You're breaking up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you kind of going in and out a little bit.
I definitely want to veg you back off of that, because those are those dynamics. So let's talk about We're 365 Black. Today, February 13th, the number 13 being a number of transformation, lending ourselves into the 4 vibration. Transformation, as we all know, is a very, very wonderful number. So I love the fact that whoever came up with this, just this FUBU holiday, for us, by us, created Black Love Day. And you would be surprised how many people don't know about that day, because you could tell on Facebook, hardly anybody mentions it, at least in my circle of people. So it is something that people are surprised when you talk about it, because I tried it several times this morning. Did I not, President Sa? And people are like, oh, I didn't know that. So you have remember, you're in a system that's promoting business. Everybody running to get chocolates, candies, flowers, teddy bears, champagne, blah, blah, blah. One of the biggest economic years or dates of the year. And here now we have a call to be loving on self, loving your family, loving the nation. And there's very little. I mean, they talk about they support Black History Month. I've been seeing all the advertisements on TV, but they didn't mention this day. They didn't say, well, this is also a Black holiday, and it's called Black on Black Love. Now, why would you think that the U.S. media would not promote that? Because it is their intent always. Remember, intent. Always. It's always about capitalism. It's always about making that wealth. It's never about rebuilding and restoring the Black community, because that is something that you helped destroy. So it is incumbent upon us, beloveds, to talk about and to emulate what Black on Black love looks like. You got to be able to break through the attitudes, break through the Willie Lynches, break through the attitudes, break through that this particular neighborhood belongs to so-and-so, and this particular neighborhood belongs to so-and-so. That's that Black on love, Black on Black love, because it will definitely deflect the Black on Black hate, the Black on Black crime that is perpetuated on us, by us. So yes, I want to say here to the listening audience, I love you. I love you because I can love you, because I promise you I love myself. I love so much that I have sacrificed much in my life to love on Black people. How about that?
Ashe.
Definitely. And Brother Che, He says, to be a true freedom fighter, you must love the people. And that's right. In order for us to free the land, free ourselves, free our people, we have to definitely have an undying love for the people. But you cannot have an undying love for the people unless you have an undying love for yourself. I remember it's this rapper called Nipsey Hussle, R.I.P. to the brother, another casualty of hatred, of self-hatred within our community. But this brother actually said that when he was dealing with this whole gang situation, he just noticed that every time he was sent out to do some kind of mission, and it's called a mission is when you go do something to attack another brother, you know, basically a rival gang or somebody, you know, what they call the op, so-called ops. We got a word to better articulate the hatred for ourselves now, you know. But whenever, you know, they was doing a mission, or you have to send a mission to attack your brother, that when you're driving down the street looking for somebody to attack, you might see some guy who looks kind of like a nerd in a backpack, and you look at him and you drive right past them. You see some white boys doing their thing, kicking it. You drive right past them. But then soon as you see somebody who's walking just like you walk, who dressed just like you dress, got the same swag, the same style, just like you do, you say, there he is, get him. And he said he realized that when you're going on these missions, you are you're passing up all these other people because they don't remind you of yourself. You're not even attacking the so-called op or the enemy. You are attacking yourself. Because somewhere in our mind, in our subconscious, we hate ourselves. Therefore, we want to attack ourselves. And that was real, you know, actually thought-provoking from this brother, you know. And it just, I mean, it's really part of a mental dis-ease that we suffer from living under this system. You know, oppressed people have the tendency to love and admire the colonizer's society and civilization because the colonizer has the power to force their point of view and force their standard of beauty and their standard of excellence and represent themselves as the standard of excellence. I'll tell you a true story. This is something I haven't told anybody, but this is a true story. And it took me until I got older to even recognize the relevance of it. When I was young, I had this dream that I was happy. I was maybe like 9, 10 years old. I had a dream I was in my mother's living room. I had a family. I had a wife, my children. We were all together and we were happy. And every last one of us was white. I was white, my wife was white, and my children were white. And my feeling was I was happy, you know. And it took me until I got older and learned because I didn't even think anything of the dream. But you know, once I started learning about what's happening to us and psychologically, the damage in which we've been suffered, I realized, well, dang, at 10 years old, being exposed to this system at that early age, I recognized or I equated being happy with being white. It was like even in my dream, I could not achieve happiness unless, you know, I was white. You know what I'm saying? Don't clown me on that, y'all, because that's something personal, you know, and I'm sharing it with y'all. But yo, that's a true story. But we all, you know, we have to understand that we all have all been traumatized under this system, and we all have to go through that process of deprogramming ourselves. And we will forever be doing it because we have been so thoroughly indoctrinated. You know what I'm saying? Even today, you know, I might see something and I might have to say to myself, why did I feel that way about that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, you know, that thought, you know, that I might see another brother and I'll be like, you know, hold on, why did I feel that way? You know? So, you know, you have to be a conscious thing to really deprogram yourself, to detoxify yourself from the toxins that we are exposed to on a day-to-day basis called the system of white supremacy. And I yield on that.
Yes, and that's very important. They're being very self-conscious, you know, and not self-conscious because you're worried about what somebody else thinks. Self-conscious in terms of as we're going through our transformation process, we want to be aware of those bad habits that we are have picked up from this particular system that we are, you know, cleaning ourselves of. Can you hear me, Brother Prophecy?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making sure. So we got to be very, very conscientious of that. You know, this takes real, when we say self-work, that's the type of work we're talking about. What Brother Prophecy is talking about. You know, we got how many thousands on thousands of thoughts or dreams or visions that we know that we have had, or right, or habits that we have had that is not in alignment with what it is that we're building. And once we identify that, we have to really, really take a look at that and shift that and change that. And sometimes that shift and change might take it doesn't happen right away. So be patient with yourself. Just make sure that you're working toward eliminating whatever that is, right? That's a everyday thing, every single day thing. Like, this is the type of work that it takes. We say we want to build something different. We got to change ourselves, you know. Brother Obafemi, thank you so much. He has differentiated the two, Black Love Day and Akoma Day. He says Black Love Day started in 1993. I'm assuming by Mama Ayo Handy. Oh, wait, hold on. Handy Kendi. And then he said Akoma Day, which is a week-long observance, was started by Ancho and in Washa Edu in 2001. Thank you so much for, and he says Akoma Week starts tomorrow. So today is actually Black Love Day on February 13th, and then Akoma Week starts tomorrow. Thank you so much for that differentiation.
Definitely appreciate that. Yeah. That's how I always say, you know, our audience is the most politically aware, most knowledgeable people in the land. So, you know, thank you for proving me correct on that analysis, brother. But yeah, I guess we can keep on with a couple of more comments. Brother Ro Jamu, how you doing, bro? Good to see you. Checking in. I got your message, said you gonna come back to the crib and you got to kick it with me. So you damn right you got to kick it with me. My comrade right there. Let me see. Example: I moved 800 miles away. Yes, you did move 800 miles away from us, comrade. Made it to 6 figures a year. Every cell in my body says, "Take your ass home." No matter how hard we go for the children, we have to realize the best option is our children having their own, just as any other classification of people. If we ain't growing, then nobody is growing. Damn right, you know. So yeah, well said, brother. Well said, brother. The best option for our children is definitely to have our own, and we have to work with every cell in our body to make that happen by any and all means.
Yes.
So yeah, Middle Queen, yeah, hey brother, yeah, thank you for being transparent. We all have been damaged by the system. Like David Banner said, it's like removing tattoos from your brain. And it is, y'all. It is, y'all. You know, doing that self-work, sometimes it can be difficult. One of the most difficult things to do is to look yourself in the mirror and see the trauma and face the damage and acknowledge it, because you got to be able to do that in order to remove it. You know, as long as you're in denial, it's going to stay there. And you will continue to be traumatized, and really you'll be continuing to traumatize other people, not even knowing it. So that's right. Brother Che, how you doing, brother? In 1770, Europeans decided to break away from their oppressors, and they came here to wage war for freedom, so-called freedom. Today, we people of color would want to break away from our physical and mental slavery, and they call us terrorists. If that's the case, then those so-called founding fathers were all terrorists. And I'm feeling your point, and you're definitely right, you know what I'm saying? But I call them terrorists anyway, you know, not for breaking away from their colonizers, you know, people that they say were oppressing them, but for what they did when they got over here. You know, they committed genocide on a mass level. But definitely, I get you get where you're coming from. It's a human right. It's common sense and a natural response for people to try to break away from their oppressor. See, Rose said, we gotta out freedom. What that mean? We gotta out freedom before everything. Not sure what he was trying to say. Uh, because it's our key to everything.
We got to put freedom before everything.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. We got to put freedom before everything. Now that makes sense because it's our key to everything. I almost slipped up and bought a house, but if they'd approve us for 100,000, 200,000, 200,000, shouldn't we use that money to build the nation? That's the few thoughts I've been struggling with. See, I like you, brother. I like you, brother, because your mind always be expanding and going through different ideas. You think very outside of the box. That is something real interesting. You know, if you get approved so much money, you know, putting that money to building your nation.
I mean, I would definitely. Well, you know, this would just be my extra on that. I'm looking at going ahead and building from ground up. If you did get approved on land, you buy a big plot of land in the national territory, you get some big plot of land in the national territory that's going to be beneficial to, you know, if that was the case, not just some house, rent a house in some neighborhood that, you know, that's outside of the territory, that's whatever, or it's in a neighborhood where it's going to be, I don't know, you want to optimize whatever resource you have. Like if that's a resource, optimize it. You know what I mean? And make it work within alignment of what it is that we're doing, you know?
Definitely. I'm definitely in agreement with that, you know. Hey, but we have a Black Power file. We got to talk about Mr. Benjamin Banneker. Brother, that we don't learn his Black history, and we don't really teach much about this brother, even though he's like a genius. But we'll be right back after this. This is the New African Perspective, y'all. Free the land, free the land.
I fight for land, independence, and for reparations. We gotta do for self-determination.
Being independent is a very, very good thing because it means that you don't have to be dependent, especially on people who don't like you. I mean, growing your own food, like teaching your own babies our real history, the real truth.
As a people, we are not grown unless we have independence. We are not grown as long as we living under another man's system, operating in his way of things, his laws, and his ordinances that support his rule, actually. So to me, it's not the importance of self-determination and independence. It is mandatory.
Or we could make a change, get off our ass, do something else. Go get some land together, grow our food and do for self. Create our own stores, our own banks, start building wealth. Break them generational curses and start healing self. See with my last breath. Leaders, scholars, freedom fighters, all those soldiers who've been struggling for the liberation of Black people. This is the Black Power File.
Y'all, we got a Black Power file. I'm trying to pull it up real quick. This is something about Benjamin Banneker, y'all. It ain't playing. Y'all bear with me.
Carving all the gears himself out of wood, connected with strength of the color of the skin is in no way connected with strength of the mind or intellectual powers. Those are the words of Benjamin Banneker, and his entire life was proof of what he said. His math skills were so impressive that at age 22, he built a clock, carving all the gears himself out of wood. Banneker then went to work for a surveyor, laying out a 10-mile by 10-mile square of land. His job was to make the astronomical observations necessary to lay out that square of land perfectly. That square, by the way, became the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Banneker used his tremendous scientific knowledge to publish an almanac so that everyone from farmers to sailors would know when the high tide would be, what time the sun would setting, the phases of the moon. He calculated all this and laid it out in an almanac. Banneker's accomplishments are celebrated in books with an honorary postage stamp. And across this country, there are schools, elementary schools, high schools, academies, charter schools named in his honor. As great of a mathematician and scientist as Banneker was, he wasn't all math and science. He wrote to Thomas Jefferson complaining how Jefferson was all for the rights and liberties of people, but at the same time owned slaves himself. Banneker wrote Jefferson that, quote, "You should, at the same time, be found guilty of that most criminal act which you professedly detested in others," end quote. In the end, we'll always remember Benjamin Banneker as a great mathematician and scientist.
And that was our Black Power foul, our brother Benjamin Banneker, who, as you heard, he was a scientist, a mathematician, or a inventor. He laid out the whole layout of Washington, D.C. And what he didn't say in that particular piece right there is the individual, the white guy, who was supposed to do it quit, and they didn't have a way to do it, and he did it from memory because this brother was just a pure genius. And, you know, not only that, he had apparently some social consciousness on him, too, because he criticized the president of the United States during the time Thomas Jefferson, you know, being a hypocrite, talking about you talk about freedom, but then again, you own slaves. So you're a damn hypocrite. So Benjamin Banneker, open it up. What y'all thoughts on this, brother?
We can't hear you.
I can't hear you, Mama Ayo. Can't hear you, Mama Ayo.
Are you on mute?
She actually not. I don't know what's going on with it. Yeah, you might want to go out and come back in, but we can't hear you.
Well, well, obviously this brother was brilliant. What I take from him is don't limit yourself. You know, do not limit the ability of we as New Africans. Do not limit our ability, our mental capacity to get us out of this particular situation that we're in. Okay, we have the brilliance, enough brilliance to get us out of it. The most important thing is to remember he was self-taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that we have to do, we have to be self-taught. Okay, it has to be self-taught. If it's something that needs to happen, um, we are the ones that are going to have to create the ways and means for it to happen. You know, whatever that may be, the how we figure that out on the way. You know, sometimes you just figure that out on the way. A lot of times we see the end goal. We easily see the end goal. Yet if we're able to see the end goal, that means we know the how as well, even though we may think we don't know the how, right? As we take step one, our minds open up, especially in our right minds. Like if we have common sense and we have the power of foresight and we are the original mathematicians and the scientists, we are still those same people, y'all. We can see it. We still are infinite in terms of what it is that we're able to create. It's just a matter of consistency, momentum, so that we can utilize our full potential power, right?
Mm-hmm. Mama Ayo, I see you back. You got anything you want to add to this conversation about Benjamin Banneker?
Well, again, another example. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's another example of having so many talents naturally, because I believe Washington, D.C. was built when? In 1700s?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I beg your pardon?
Yeah.
1700s. Here you have a black man who wasn't supposed to know how to read and write. How y'all figure that? How that happened? I mean, we weren't emancipated until 1863. So he he was gifted early because he could read and write, and he had mathematical talents. Because I don't remember ever reading that he was born free.
No, he was enslaved. He was enslaved. Yep.
Exactly. So my whole thing is that a lot of our people had natural talents. Otherwise, this country would still look like the way it was when the indigenous came, without all the concrete and all the wires across the country and everything else. But what I'm saying is, multi-genius had was exposed to what we call the Mason type of life, and he was able to literally establish what most Americans call the seat of the nation, Washington, D.C. Banneker was very, 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 very talented, and there are lots uh, of our people who created many, many, many things but they were taken away because they weren't allowed to read, they weren't allowed to write, they weren't allowed to say for themselves that that's my idea. I did that. That was that. No, that's me. I showed Massa how to do that, and he's recognized because they couldn't deny it. It was right there in their faces. Here he was. This is what he created: the clock, the almanac, the layout of Washington D.C. being able to help manifest it, and more, and more, and more. So yes, we give him big kudos, Benjamin Banneker. And I have never seen in any social studies book since I've been teaching that Benjamin Banneker was of course mentioned. So usually during this time of year, he's one of the people that I always encourage my students, and have encouraged over the years, to find out about it. And that is something that our children should know. By the time they get to 12th grade, they should know a large majority of inventors, creators, firsts in this world, not just in this country, in the world, so that they can step into the arena once they get into college and not say, oh, why am I just now hearing about this? I never heard about this before. That's our job. That's our job as parents, grandparents, etc. That's our job, because it's not in the school system. I'm getting off on a whole nother tangent, but understand what I'm coming from. 365 Black. That is what we say. You got to get those materials in your house. They have to be there because nobody is telling them about our beautiful, beautiful, brilliant minds. Nobody. I yield.
Yeah, and that's for clarity purposes. Benjamin Banneker actually was born free. His father was an enslaved African, and both his father and his mother were able to gain their freedom. So he was actually born free in Baltimore, and he was self-taught. But I mean, the thing about Banneker and his genius and his excellence, I mean, it's not just synonymous with Banneker. We have a lot of brilliant individuals, a lot of excellence, a lot of people who our people do wonderful things. The problem is right now, in this particular time and space in history, and for the last 400 or 500 years, all of our talents, our skills, our intellect has been going to serve a system that oppresses us. So that's kind of the problem, because that's one thing that the system does, is they try to recognize the individuals who have this talent, have these skills, and they scoop them up early, and they say, well, yo, you different from them, come with us, and they try to indoctrinate them, farther indoctrinate us. So we will serve the purpose of the colonizer and not the purpose of our own people. That's why what we do is so important. Gaining for self, doing for self, so we can, so all of our people, because a lot of times, when you look at a lot of our real leaders who are really dedicated to the people, to our struggle, a lot of us, like Brother Malcolm, he came from the streets, A lot of the Panthers, they dealt with the people who are in the street, and I know our master teacher used to say, hey, we go in the hood, we get the prostitute, we get the drug dealer, we get all them people that society rejected, and we build them up, and and once they are exposed to the proper information, then it's like the mind expands, and you find that these people that you look down upon are some of the most brilliant people in the world. It's just they did not have that belief in self, and nobody took the time to show them that they were more than just what they were portrayed to on the television and in the mainstream media. So
there you
yeah,
go.
so definitely. It's just we gotta enter that space when we have all of our people on the same page, whether you in the streets or you in the colleges, whether you live in the suburbs or you live in the projects, we all have to be dedicated to the true liberation of our people, because the reality is humanity started with us. There's no such thing as Black people being inferior. You know what I'm saying? Because Black people was the standard of all of humanity. In Africa, you can find Africa is the most genetically diverse place on the planet. You can find the tallest people in the world in Africa. You can find the shortest people in the world in Africa. In fact, they don't even live that far from each other. All of the humanity, all of the traits of humanity you can find in Africa. You can find people who make me look light-skinned. You find people who are white as snow. All of them African. I ain't talking about them South Africans who came from Europe who colonized them. I'm talking about indigenous in Africa. Because Africa is the cradle of humanity, the cradle of civilization. In fact, you look at the highest IQs ever recorded, they are from people in Africa. So the smartest people in the world are found in Africa. It's the most genetically diverse place on the planet. And so this whole idea and this concept principle that Black people can't do, or we are less than, it's ridiculous. It was created in order to justify a system of exploitation. And we got to understand that clearly. And we have to, like Madam President says, we have to shed the limitations that we put on ourselves, even if they were put on us by a system of oppression. We got to shed that, and we got to get rid of that, because we got to realize that is not us. We are not what someone else say we are. We have to be clear about who we are. And I'm a yield on that.
Yes. Can I want to add just what you were saying? We have to take the time out, not only to teach our children about our heroes, but also to make sure that we are bringing forth that which is already there in them, that is their superpowers. So it's our responsibility, and I'm saying this is our a totally different aspect of education system, right? Because to educate means to bring forth that which is already there. So our responsibility. Pay attention to your children when they 1 or 2 years old. They're gonna show you what they do. They're gonna naturally show you, oh, I'm good at this. I like this. It's our responsibility to see that, to recognize that, and really, 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 really pour into that. So by the time they 30, good, they done mastered several things.
Exactly.
Exactly. By the time they 18, it ain't no, oh, I'm trying to find myself. They've been nurtured. Who they are would have already been nurtured. So as they're reading about their heroes and sheroes, they can relate because they got superpowers too, right?
Thank you.
Too.
That's correct. That's correct.
So it's our responsibility to ignite and empower us. Make sure we optimize our power, optimize those powers that we have, optimize those gifts, optimize those talents, within our children, and then within ourselves, because it's a lot of things that we have dormant within ourselves because it hasn't been activated. Somebody told us, oh, it wasn't important. Us going to public school was more important, learning about stuff in a way that don't have nothing to do with us, right? And then we trying to figure it out. And then half the stuff you learned, you wasted your time because you're not using it. They have nothing to do with you. Had absolutely nothing to do with you. So We got to get out of that. We waste a whole bunch of time, a whole bunch of energy, and we want to optimize that. So that's our responsibility to Africans with self and our
Yeah.
children, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like what you said, like education, the true purpose of education. If you look at, do the etymology on the word education, it comes from the Latin educare, which basically means to bring forth from within. So originally, the original meaning of education means to find what's already within you and bring it out to the forefront. Because, like you said, we're all blessed with talents and gifts. Several, we got several talents. Some people say find your gift. Every last one of us has multiple gifts. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, too many of our people go to the grave without even discovering half of what, they already have inside of them. They're just waiting to get out. That's why it's really important to expose our children to different things.
Yes.
'Cause like a lot of times you never know you're into astrophysics if you never look through a telescope and seeing the stars from a perspective different than just looking at a city sky, which you can't see any stars from. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely. That is definitely. I want to read some comments, but my computer just died and I can't read it on the phone. You want to read some of these?
Sure. Okay, Melly Queen says the only thing they created was the patent office to steal everything.
That's true.
They said exactly, Mama. We must learn and know our real and true stories, not his story.
Exactly.
I want to say something about what Melly Queen just said, because I saw this comedian. I saw this comedian. There's a white comedian said, talking about everybody who invented things. He was like saying, damn, what did white people invent? Like white people didn't invent nothing. But I tell you what white people invented. We invented credit. He said they went to the Americas, saw the indigenous people and said, hey, who land is this? He was like, it's nobody's land, it's everybody's land. So you know what? I'm gonna take credit for that, So that's basically what they took. They created credit, and they take credit for everybody else's thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you continue with the reading.
That's right.
Brother Jorge says, family, you need to read the book called Young Warriors by Bakir. It's about the training of young Maroons, making them young freedom fighters. It's a good book. Oh, yes, indeed. We sure will. And then Brother Freedom Power. I'm not sure if Banneker is credited with naming and numbering DC streets, but it's a very interesting setup. Very scientific. North and south are number streets. East and west are alphabetical lettering. Exactly. Once the letter streets run out, then begins the names of street in alphabetical order. When the state name street run out, then begins the names of presidents, colonizers, and then names of flowers from single syllables and in alphabetical order from 1 to 3 syllables, streets, names. Then
excellent.
Exactly. Well, makes sense though.
That does. I mean, that's a really great. That's systematic. That's
it's
very
systematic. That also, as systematic as it is, it also shows you that we are not random people. We don't do stuff randomly. All right, and I know exactly what you're talking about. You drove everywhere if you drive in DC. Okay. But yeah.
Excellent.
I think that's all the comments that I saw.
Okay. So yeah, so I think we did it again, y'all. Another episode, New African Perspective. Y'all got anything y'all want to say to people before we get up out of here?
Yes. Black on black love. Love is the answer. Love yourself. Love on yourself. Do something, say something that shows black love to another. Today, we say all of our, we always say that the family is the foundation of the nation. So we because I try not to say I too much. We love to see Black love. It is the most beautiful thing, especially when it manifests into family. It is just, I mean, it's just wonderful, y'all. It's just like a glow. So with that, I yield.
Exactly. I'm with you. I love Black love so much, y'all. I follow random Black family. Okay. I don't care what they own. I don't care. All I see is men, women, and children. I'm following you. That's Black. Yeah. Because it's something I need to see, right? So I put on my timeline the things that I want to see, the things that I enjoy seeing. I love seeing us loving on one another, Black family, Black love, men and women loving on one another, supporting one another, uplifting one another. I love it. I love it. And I just love to see it. So I got to put it on the time. Right?
Yes, no doubt. No doubt. So, I just say, today, Black Love Day. We always say Kwanzaa 365 because we have to implement those principles 365 days a year. We say Black History 365 because we study our history every day, not just within the month of February. So now we saying Black Love 365 because we can't just love on ourselves for one day or 1 week. It has to be every day, all year, all the time. This is the New African Perspective. Mama Ayo Deli, Madam President Samaat, Brother Prophecy. We'll see y'all again next week. Y'all free the land.
By any and all means necessary, comrades.
And when you bring it in, you brought it in for the purpose of weakening the revolutionary tide of the people.
It must not be a capitalist system, but we don't want to exploit anybody. We don't want to be exploited, and we don't want to exploit anybody.
Ain't nobody going to do it for us. There's nobody outside of yourself, nobody outside of ourselves that's going to do this work for us. We have to put in that real work.
Because the better you are in exploiting people, the more successful you are within capitalism.
We want to say salute to all our political prisoners, our POWs, our elder comrades in exile.
The satisfaction we need as a people only comes through liberation and independence.
Because we're not just building for self, we're building for the family, because the family is broken. We're building for the community is broken. The nation is broken. The race